everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good evening, good evening. We are here. It is Friday. I need you to tag, I need you to share, I need you to invite others to come on. I see you there, Pastor Sabrina. I'm gonna take you out the queue for 2 seconds because we're gonna build this audience up. We are excited about tonight's show because we're gonna be talking about leadership. It was many of you on. I was trying to just show the some clips on leadership, just some motivation. But you guys popped off, so I need you to come back, come back, come back, come back, come back on. Here I am. If you was waiting to see your face, here I am. I am Chantel Jackson. I am your host of In the Know, Unveiling the Greatness in You. So tonight we're going to have an exciting show, and we have an exciting guest. She was supposed to be on last week, but we didn't get to do the show last week because it was Good Friday, and it was a lot going on. So I wanted to make sure when she came on, we had lots and lots of viewers. Can you all hear me? Hey, Pastor Shante. Hey, Katora. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I welcome you all on right now. We want to get moving. We had a few technical difficulties, still trying to learn this whole StreamYard thing. I've learned some more stuff that you can do with this, and I was trying to fix it, but it wasn't working because I needed more time. But amazing stuff you can do with this StreamYard for those who are streamers, who are streaming live on the internet, on Facebook, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, even you can stream from StreamYard on, what's the other thing? LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also a way you can StreamYard as well. And also Periscope. Yes, Periscope is still very relevant. Please tag, share, and invite someone on to tune in. Earlier, I did see Prophet Washawn was on. A lot of other people were on. People jump on and off. That's fine, but we're going to get started. We have a very unique guest on tonight. She's a good friend of mine. She's out of Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to get to her real quick. But I have a question for you. Come on, tag, share, invite. Hey, Genesis. I see Genesis, my daughter, on. Woo-hoo. Genesis Mayfo. She's actually in the other room. She's kind of being loud. I told her I'm on live. So anyway, can you all hear? I see Pastor Sabrina in the queue, but I wanted to kind of talk to you about leadership. What does leadership really mean to you? Whether it's in ministry, whether it's on the job, whether it's in whatever sector in your life, being a parent. Also, leadership can be in many, many, many forms. And what I love about this show tonight, we're going to be talking about leaders and how leaders are supposed to act even in the crisis time. How does leaders act in a crisis? That really reveals a leader. So when I was talking to my sister that's coming on, our guest tonight is none other than Pastor Sabrina McKenzie. Pastor Sabrina McKenzie is definitely known. She's running for Senate in Atlanta, Georgia. She's also a Bravo television star. She is the star of In a Man's World. She's an author. She's a mother. So we're going to have her come on and we're going to talk about leadership. So one day we were talking after the whole pandemic came about, and I noticed on live she was still out doing community work. She was still out in the community feeding the homeless, feeding shelters, going to shelters and doing things in the community. And literally, this was at the beginning of the pandemic. So I reached out to her. I was like, girl, I see you still out there. People, they saying stay home. People are dying. And then she said to me, Chantel, leaders are not created in a crisis. They are revealed. She said leaders are not created in a crisis, but they are revealed. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. That's what we're going to be diving into. And I want to welcome to the show. We're going to go ahead and go in. I hear somebody knocking on my door, so I'm going to need one of my children. This is about how you do live at home. I'm gonna set my studio up where I don't be disturbed. Can somebody please get the door? All right, it's all about live. Let me see. So we're gonna bring Pastor Sabrina on. Somebody, God bless you. God, thank you for coming on, Bishop Thomas out of New Jersey. If you can tell us where you're watching from, that would be great. Please, I'm gonna add her to the screen. Hey, sis, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am good. I am good. So excited to have you on. Listen, everybody, I need you to tag, share, and invite others to tune in on tonight. This is going to be a show that's going to be a lot of dialogue, talking about leadership. And what I love, I was just telling everybody who you are. This is none other than Pastor Sabrina McKenzie. She is my friend, my sister, prayer partner.
Yes.
We be wilding out sometimes, but she is most of all, I love her because she's down to earth. Even though she's running for Senate, like I said, she's a pastor. She's a woman of God. She loves the Lord. She loves people, and she's running for Senate in the state of Georgia, out of the District 41. So welcome to the In the Know platform. None other than my sister, my friend, Dr. I always call you Dr. Sabrina. She's gonna be she's a doctor. Pastor Sabrina McKenzie. God bless you.
God bless you. Actually, it's official. There are two doctorates. So the first one I started in ITC, the Interdenominational Theological Center, studying to be a doctor, to get a doctorate in social justice. So I am still doing my dissertation, but then I received the honorary doctorate of humanitarianism as well as philosophy. So yes, doctor is fine, but I'm not a person that gets hung up on titles. I just laugh at it because you have been calling me that for like years, ever since I've known you. So now it's official, right?
It's
official. Thanks for having me on the show. It's official.
I love it. I love it. And once again, listen, everybody, tag, share. God bless you. Welcome, Apostle Wes Warren, Lakina, folks. Thank you all for joining on tonight. As you come on, please tag someone, share, and invite. And if you have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A. Also, I know that you are having a little challenges with connection, but you look amazing. You look like you haven't been quarantined at all.
Listen, I feel like I haven't been quarantined because I've been extremely busy. In fact, today I had to bury a young person. I had to do a funeral today. Wow. And yeah, incredible. I mean, it really broke me down. And it was gun violence. It was due to gun violence. So I just was so surprised that in the midst of the stay at home and stay in place order, that young people are still getting into confrontation, still shooting, still just carrying on as business as usual. What broke my heart the most is to see about 30 young Black men, tattoos, scarves, pants hanging down. And if somebody would look at them, you swear that they were a part of a gang or a part of something. But what I saw were young men that were broken. And no matter how tough they appeared, they were crying and wailing because their brother was in a casket. And so, being a pastor, I do get to see death often, but sometimes it just, no matter what level of leadership you're in, it just breaks you down to your core, especially when you're an empathist. And so I want to encourage all the people to really stay home. And like you said, Chantel, I've been out. I've been feeding people. I've been helping people. I've been burying people. I've been in the hospital. Yeah, so I've been out. But, I'm out so you can stay home.
Right.
How about that? I'm out.
Let's kind of talk about how we even got to this subject. We're talking about tonight a world in crisis. As we know, let's see, sometime in March, and I can remember, it might have been before March, but I remember moving, and one week everything was fine, and the next week it was a pandemic. Like everything, our lives changed. So let's say like mid-March, our lives changed. And one day we were talking, I think you had got stuck in New York at some point. And
I was in New York. I almost didn't make it back to Atlanta.
You're right.
New York, they're not letting people leave the city now. So when I left New York, they shut everything down. The bridge operators left. And so when I crossed the bridge, there was nobody even to take my toll. That's how serious it was. So I almost got stuck in New York. But yes, everything It just seemed like overnight. However, the pandemic had been going on for quite a while. In fact, if you remember when Kobe Bryant passed away, and it was in the newspaper, on the other side of the newspaper, they were talking about the coronavirus. So the coronavirus is not something that's new. However, most people, it's impacting them in a different way and maybe new to them because now they have to stay at home and be quarantined. So it's a new experience for us in America.
Right. And so you had made it back to Georgia and we were talking one day and I was like, I see you on live. It's like the beginning. Everybody panicking, buying up toilet paper, grocery stores empty. I'm just like, oh my, we trying to figure out if we going to have service. And one day I go on live or online, I'm looking at you out live, you like feeding the homeless and you was doing a lot of stuff when people were saying stay in, you were out. And I said, I'm so proud of you. I was like, that's dope. Like, that's pretty cool. And you said to me these words, and it created this whole show. You said, look, Chantel, leaders are not created in a crisis. They are revealed. And I said, oh, let's do a show. So let's talk about that. I know, once again, if you're just joining us, I'm Chantel Jackson, a host of In the Know, Unveiling the Greatness in You. My guest tonight is none other than Pastor Sabrina McKenzie out of Atlanta, Georgia. And she is running for state senate in Georgia, District 41. So if you're anywhere near the Georgia area, you know family in Georgia, this is who you want to vote for. The election is still going to happen. She told me already they haven't postponed or canceled anything. So she is still actively working in the community to make sure that the people are okay, even dealing in this pandemic. So what did you mean? Let's talk a little bit about how you got into politics. Let's go there. Let's kind of go back and then come forward. How did you get into politics? What was your take around getting, how did you get here and where you're at to run for Senate?
Well, I always knew that I would be in office in some capacity. Didn't know that I would be the senator, but I knew that I would be engaged in helping people at the realm or the level of a politician. My uncle, Samuel Wright, was the first Black assemblyman in Brooklyn, New York. He ran against Shirley Chisholm. You might know her. And so one year he beat her. The next year she beat him. But I will tell you how much of an impact my uncle made in Brooklyn, New York. When I met Reverend Al Sharpton, he told me, your uncle is to Brooklyn who Colin Powell is to America.
Wow.
And so, when he said that, it kind of shook me to the core because I knew that my family was great. I knew that I had greatness in my DNA. But to hear somebody like Reverend Al Sharpton, who may be at the pinnacle of his career, the pinnacle of activism, the pinnacle of social justice, someone who, when we say his name, whether you like him or you hate him, we all know him. So for him to look at me and tell me who my uncle was to him, in fact, he told me that my uncle gave him his first politician gig. And then he said to me, your other uncle, which is Carson Wright, had a church in Brooklyn. He let me preach when I was like 16. And so a lot of people don't know, but my uncle and my aunt pastored in Brooklyn for 55 years. So since I was like 8 years old, since I was a child, I was handing out flyers, asking people to vote for my family members. And then I also had to come to church. And when I went to church, they were making me clean toilets. They were making me take up money. They were making me do, announcements. So I've been in leadership since I was a child, and I've been around great, strong leaders in my family. So it wasn't something that, you decide to be a leader. It's something that, that it's in you. It's in your DNA. It's something that you do. And what I think happens is crisis reveals it. So you see right now, when we are at the pinnacle of homelessness, joblessness, hopelessness, and then we have an epidemic going on top of that, we need real leaders. And while we have all of this going on, you have a great divide between governors and mayors. Should we stay in? Should we wear a mask? Should we quarantine? What day should we come out? Should we close the schools down for 6 weeks? Should we close the schools out? Should we allow graduation? You have all of these questions, and with that, you need a leader. So I believe that crisis reveals leadership. Now, I want to tell you a person, and there's so many stories of people or characters that we could mention where leadership was revealed a crisis, but I'll start with Dr. King, because Dr. King thought initially that he was just going to be a drum major, or he just thought that he would be a preacher, that he was going to get a PhD, you know, he would finish Morehouse College, he would open up his church, he was going to be a good dad, you know, he was going to be a preacher. That was his goal. That was his lifelong goal. However, when Rosa Parks would not get up and move to the back of the bus, they had a boycott. They started discussing, for this boycott, we need leadership. Who are we going to have be the leader? And it was that during that season and during that time that they nominated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to be the leader. So he went from being a pastor to a drum major for justice. It's in the middle of crisis that leaders are revealed.
Wow. And that's what you said. And I just thought it was so profound, because being in leadership, whether you're, like I said in the beginning, whether you're a pastor, whether you're in the politics, whether you're just at home, as a parent, in schools, it's leadership all around us. But how are we reacting? What is our stamina? What is our position in a crisis? Do we run and hide? Do we go with the status quo because everybody else is saying it, or do we go against the grain? How has this affected your leadership ability or your leadership skills? How have they really, because you said as a child that you were, first of all, what you said was very key. As a child, and in church, they had you cleaning the toilets. They had you doing things that what some people don't want to do. They're trying to be in leadership. So you became a servant first. And I believe, and I hear this all the time, even from my pastors. Shout out to my pastors, Apostle Weston, Prophetess Shante Warren. They always talk about leadership, how it starts in, first of all, at home, and then when you branch out into leadership in different sectors, but how you become a servant leader. Talk about that a little bit, servant leadership.
Well, the first thing I want to say, and I think that we all would agree, is that leadership is not a title.
That's good.
You know, just because you have a title does not make you a leader. And when we turn on the television, we're hearing different voices, from the highest voices of the President of the United States all the way down to local leadership. And many of us are looking at them, and we are saying to ourselves, that's not a leader. We're saying to ourselves, you are confused. We're saying to ourselves, what are you doing? We're saying to ourselves, I could do a better job than that. Many of us are making assessments based off of how we see the people that have titles carrying on. And one of the people that I want to give a shout out to and say kudos to, I think Governor Cuomo in the state of New York City is doing an amazing job at really bringing leadership to the forefront and really handling it in a very distinguished way. But you talked about being a servant, and it's very interesting that they don't call it politicians, they call us public servants. I think it's key for us to remember that we are public servants. We are hired and we are employed by the people when they give us their vote. And so it's not enough for us to sit in a gold dome and act as if the people owe us a favor. When the people employ us, we are working on behalf of the people.
That's good.
So I always tell the people at the state capitol, this is your House of Representatives, and we are here to serve you. You cannot be a leader until you are a follower, one. You cannot be a leader until you are a servant, two. You cannot be a leader until you are well studied and well trained and experienced. So just because somebody gives you a title does not make you a leader. And what will tell on the level of your maturity in your leadership role will be crisis.
Crisis.
What will tell on you will be tribulation. What will tell on you will be persecution. What will tell on you will be affliction. What will tell on you will be public resurrection.
Come on.
Will breed public persecution, breed public resurrection.
Say that again.
Public persecution breeds public resurrection.
Come on.
That tells us who is leading and who is not.
Okay.
It shows us. See, Jesus was publicly persecuted. And when Jesus was persecuted, the first sign, the first evidence of his persecution was the fact that he was tested. So before you are promoted, you are tested. Before you are trusted, you are tested. So the evidence, one of your first leadership role, is the fact that you're tested. And how you handle that test is going to determine if you're ready to go higher. How you handle that test is going to let us know if you're ready to ascend. So even Jesus, walking in the body of a man, being human and divine at the same time, when he was tested, he said, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? When Jesus was tested, he said, can this cup pass for me? When Jesus was tested, he looked at the enemy and he spoke back to the enemy, because when Jesus was tested, the Bible says in Matthew 5 that the devil took Jesus up to the highest mountain and he offered him the world. The first sign of promotion will be testing. Oh my God. The first sign of a revealed leader, the first sign of a revealed leader is going to be how you handle your test.
Wow.
Now, it's not enough to be tested. It's how you go through the test. And eventually, after Jesus said, nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. That's what God is looking for the leaders. He's looking for nevertheless. So, of course, I'd like to sit home and eat bonbons. Of course, I'd like to sit home and watch HBO. Of course, I'd like to sit home and be booed up. Because I told him nevertheless, because I sacrificed and I offered myself on the altar for service, not just public service for the people, but I offered myself up to Jesus to say, nevertheless, whatever you would have me do, I'm willing to do. Because I said nevertheless, now you must go. As soon as Jesus was tempted, the Bible says he was led into the wilderness. Oh my God.
Wow. Come on. Listen, hold up. Y'all, I don't even know if where you gonna be at in the Senate House. Where you win? Where you gonna be?
In the Senate.
In the Senate. I don't even know if they ready for like the fire you about to bring to the Senate. No, you about to bring the fire. They're gonna be in that little rain in the spirit. Oh my God, so I can't wait till you win. It's about to be crazy.
Lit.
In a good way.
It's gonna be lit. Yes, it's gonna be lit. And it's gonna be fire. It's gonna be fire because we're not coming to take sides, and you finish the rest for me. We're not coming to take sides. We're not coming to bow to Baal. We're not coming to bow to Nebuchadnezzar. See, the thing about testing, the reason God allows us to go through these tests while we're in these cave seasons, like we're being quarantined, is because when we're elevated, we need to know how to handle it. When we're elevated, he needs to make sure that we're still humble. When we're elevated, we need to make sure that we can find you. When you're elevated, we need to make sure you're still available. When you're elevated, we need to make sure that you're going to speak on behalf of God and not on yourself. When you're elevated, we need to make sure that the glory goes to God and not to you. When you're elevated, so see, God tests us during these quarantine seasons. He tests us during these caveman seasons. He's testing us to see how we're going to handle it if we're ready for the resurrection. My God, we just came out of a resurrection. We just came out of a season watching Jesus go higher. But the real question today is, are you ready to be resurrected? Oh, my God. What are you doing during this quarantine?
Right. Okay. So as you are watching on tonight, and you're listening to Pastor Sabrina McKenzie. Once again, if you're just joining us, this is In the Know. We have Pastor Sabrina McKenzie on out of Atlanta, Georgia, who's running for a senator seat in the state of Georgia. Listen, if you are in Georgia, you know anybody in Georgia, District 41, vote for Sabrina McKenzie. She is on the ballot. She on the ticket. Last time she only lost by 111 votes. So we don't want that to be said this time. She is a true leader who is not stepping down, who's not backing down, who's not at home eating bonbons, who's still out here slaying us with her look and with her quality of leadership. She giving us life with her whole outfit right now. And what she's saying coming out of her mouth is not, it exudes from the inside, and she is serious about leadership, not just in politics, but everything she does exudes and exemplifies leadership. So, hey, listen, tag, share, and invite. Are you ready to be a leader? Are you ready? If you're ready to be a leader, if you feel like you are ready, or you maybe still kind of struggling, like you don't want the whole sacrifice, like she said, it's a sacrifice. You got to be in the wilderness. You got to go through. It's not no pretty picture. And listen, if you are really ready, I want you to type in the comments the fire emojis. I see Cherish. Hey, Cherish, you typed in the fire. If you are ready, I want you to type in the fire emojis. Type them in. If you're ready really to be a leader, you ready to learn from other leaders, you got to connect to, let's talk about that a little bit. Pastor Sabrina, do you think it's important to connect to other people in leadership if you feel like you may be a leader, you have failed at leadership, and maybe you don't even want to do it because you don't feel like you have the support? What do you feel about connecting, or do you feel like it's a loner type thing? How does this work?
Well, there are going to be seasons that you're alone. Like right now, we're in a season of quarantine. So there are many people that are alone. In fact, there are people that are dying alone. There are people, because they're quarantined, they have no touch. There are people that their husbands can't even go near them, and because they have, they're in a unit because they're separated from the general population because of the restrictions. So right now, this is a cave season. It's a season that we're alone. So God, just like he did with Paul, when he took him to an island of Patmos and he began to speak to him, just like when he fell off the horse and he lost his sight. There are always going to be seasons that you are alone. But I want to tell you something about God. He is a God of connectivity. He is a God of connection. That's why he's giving us the fivefold ministry. And then he said, with that fivefold ministry, I'm going to make you one. I'm going to make you the body of Christ. In fact, he says in Ephesians, I'm doing all of this for the effecting of the saints. I'm doing all of this for the edifying of the saints, for the effectiveness of the ministry, until you all come into the unity of one faith. The whole goal of the fivefold ministry is for us to become one. The entire thing. And sometimes we need seasons like this, like cave seasons, so we could be like, I seen people like, when I get out, I ain't never going to not go to the party. I'm not going to ask who's there. I'm going to just go. I'm just going to be available. I'm just going to be a part of. Sometimes you need to be alone so you can appreciate what it's like to be connected to your brothers and sisters. So this entire thing is teaching us about connectivity. Yes, it's extremely important. Nobody can do it by themselves. No man and no woman is an island. You need partnerships. You need networks. You need apostles. You need prophets. You need evangelists. You need pastors. And you need teachers. It's a body. That's why the body of Christ looks like the temple or the tabernacle of Moses. He designed it so you could see what the picture of Jesus looks like. And then he says, because the government is on my shoulders, I'm going to sit my head on top of the fivefold ministry, and I'm going to move you in the direction until you look like me. Oh my God. So it's extremely important that we stay connected. But there's one thing that we talked about that I don't think it's discussed in churches today, and I don't think it's discussed in leadership things. Because, see, people look at leaders, and right now you see a pretty picture. It looks glamorous. But if you're not ready to die, you're not ready to lead. If you're not ready to sacrifice, you're not ready to lead.
My. So in this time of crisis, as you stated before, leaders are revealed. How should leaders, if you could say in a sense, especially in politics, what is this pandemic going to do as far as the election, even the presidential election, even the election there in your home state? How is this affecting, even how people may vote? What is your take on that?
Well, it's impacting us greatly. In fact, the election date has been moved from May 19th to June the 9th. And all over the country right now, we have a presidential election that's going on. And the presidential candidates have stopped all of their activity. They stopped ordering the signs. They stopped because, they didn't know what the new dates would be. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's going on. Many of them, we have early voting going on, meaning early ballots in the mail. Because guess what? 80% of our seniors are being greatly impacted by COVID-19. We know that COVID-19, based on statistics, is impacting African-American community greater than it's impacting any other community. We know that COVID-19 is impacting seniors. So being that it's impacting people who are vulnerable, we don't want them to have to go out to the polls and get sick. So right now, there are ballots that are in the mail, and we want the seniors to make sure that they mail them in to anybody who is vulnerable or has any other type of ailment or disease. We want to make sure that you send your election ballot through the mail, because we don't want you to get sick. An election should not cost you your life, okay?
Right.
So it's greatly impacting the election. And to tell you the truth, no political strategist can call this one. No political strategist. This is why it's important to get leaders that have the mind and the heart of God. When Solomon desired to lead, he didn't say, God, give me a lot of money. He didn't say, God, give me a lot of women. He didn't say, I am king. I tell the nation what they should do. But he said, God, give me understanding that I may govern your people effectively.
Wow.
We need leaders that have wisdom of God and the understanding of God, so that we can give instruction in a day where there's no instruction.
Wow. So basically, that's who you are, and I believe that's why God has called you to the seat of the Senate. I'm already declaring victory. You have won. I can't wait till we come down. We're gonna be partying, on the Jesus side. It's gonna be lit. We're gonna have fun. I'm already ready. I already told you I'm coming to the celebration. It's gonna be so live. So Senator, my friend, like, that's my friend. She a senator. I'm gonna be your ghetto friend. I'm gonna be that one, straight ghettos. Like, I'm gonna be blue ghetto. Amen. I'm gonna be real cute. I can't wait. Lord, I can't wait. I see it. I don't know if y'all can see it. She winning. She gonna win. I can't listen. With that being said, so this crisis is revealing real leaders. Would you say any of your colleagues, and no names mentioned, would you say that you
no
see
shade?
Right, no shade, but would you say even some of your opponents, are they out? I mean, do you guys come together? I mean, are y'all in a time like this? How does that work? Like, do you come together? Like, let's lead together. How does that work?
So interestingly enough, we just had a debate, an online debate. And yeah, because typically when you are running for office, they have several meetings and several debates that go on. And so you get to meet each other, you get to meet your opponents, etc. And we just had a online debate, and everything that my opponents were discussing was all about textbook stuff. It was all about what they would do if they were sitting in the seat, what they're gonna do. But I said, listen, people are hungry, people are dying, people are losing their lives, and we don't have time for people to practice on what they gonna do or what they think leadership is. We need leaders who are leading from the front line. We need leaders who are in the trenches. We need leaders who have a voice for real people that are gonna talk about real issues that are gonna help promote and fight for real people. We don't need people that are practicing. This ain't the time for neophytes. How about that? You get your on the job training in the cave. When you come out the cave, you better know how to fight. You better know how to fight. So my comment to them was, I never pull out a sword on fly.
Wow.
I never put out a sword on a fly. So I'm not fighting my opponents. I'm in the field taking care of real people, handling real issues, because we got real things going on in the community, and we don't even have time to fight each other. And it's interesting because my opponent, one of them, was throwing pot shots at me. And I'm like, you sound like you're in, the U.S. Senate seat. That's what they're doing at the General Assembly in D.C. We don't have time for that foolishness. I just buried a boy, picked the mother up from the floor, and watched 30 African-American males weeping. Do you know how that broke me down? And you want to throw pot shots because you throwing pot shots from your computer? Girl, get in the street and let me see what leadership looks like. So people are not ready. They're not ready. They're not ready to really lead. They need to go back and do it again. Go back and try again. And I'm not just talking to my opponents. I'm talking about people in church, because all of that four-wall leadership that y'all think y'all got going on, that's not leadership. Y'all think y'all in warfare because somebody arguing with you about a seat. Y'all think y'all in warfare because you didn't get an opportunity to preach. But now God has given you an opportunity to go stand on a corner. God has given you an opportunity to go minister to COVID patients. God has given you an opportunity to call grandmothers who are dying, who are by themselves in senior centers. God has given you an opportunity to lead, but you waiting to get out for the church building to open. We need real leaders. We need real leaders. And you know what? The reason that I'm able to be on the street is because he says, when I take you through the valley, you will fear no evil. When you take the death walk in leadership, you can't feel death. Death can't take me. Death can't hold me. Death has to be still. Why? Because I already died. I died in the cave. I died on the cross. I died when I was on the floor crying. I didn't just quarantine. I've been quarantining. I've been on the altar. I've been on my knees. I've been on my face. This quarantine didn't start for me. It started for America.
That's true. Yes, and she's not lying either, honey. We be up at 7. She and leading that early too. In the morning praying, up at 5. She can't hang at night.
Yes.
I ain't gonna tell you all that. She's gonna be
going to sleep right I'm gonna be right at night. I'm going with the wind. Going with the whole wind.
You've been up since the crack of dawn. Like other people be asleep in their second snore when you're getting up. They be in their second dream, 2 dream, 3 dream. You up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, wide awake. And people are still asleep. So by the time 9 o'clock comes, because normally the show comes on at 9, but we did it for 8 o'clock today because we know you got to go get your rest so you can get up and get in them trenches. I love when you say trenches. Get in the street, get in there and get down. She put her elbows in it. She ain't just up looking pretty. She out there pretty. smart, leading, like leaders should lead. So that's why you all need to vote for her.
It's interesting because right now, like there are, first of all, 3.3 million people applied for unemployment. That means that 3.3 million people lost their jobs. So when we're feeding, we're not feeding because we don't have nothing to do. We're not feeding because we just want to be out in COVID. But if 3.3 million people lost their jobs, that means that they're not eating. That means that some of them have no source of income. That means that some of them don't have family. So we were able to follow the social distancing, but at the same time, we were able to give family food from the food bank to make sure that we were able to feed them and pray for them. So we're practicing social distancing the best way that we can, but at the same time, we're not going to let these people die at home. That's not going to happen on my watch, not if I have anything to do with it. So it's time for real leaders to stand. This is the time. This is the time for the church to be the church outside the church. I'm going to say that again. This is the time for the church to be the church outside the church. The church is not building. The church is inside of you. And you got to be ready, because it's going to come a time where that church may not ever open up again. And there are going to be people running down the street saying, what must I do to be saved? And you ain't going to be able to call your pastor. You're going to have to open up your mouth and release a word. You're going to have to open up your mouth and bury people. You're going to be like, I don't have no seminary degree, but that day you're going to become the pastor. That day you're going to be the evangelist. So God is equipping us, and he's preparing us right now for end time ministry. Either you're going to leave, either you're going to come hard, or you're going to stay home.
Right. Literally.
Literally. And if you're going to stay home, just get out of our way, because we got things to do. We got people to bless. We got people to help. And people right now, they not looking for no fluff. They don't want your prosperity gospel. They don't want your jargon. They don't want your foolishness. They want to know how they can be made whole. I'm telling you, I've seen gang members throw down their guns and submit. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Wow.
And submit, because they found somebody that loves them. Leadership, the first role of leadership is sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave. Yes. He gave his begotten son. If you're not giving, you're not leading.
That part.
Leadership is not about them giving to you. Leadership is not about 25 people holding your bag. Leadership is not about how many people follow you around on airplanes and jets. That's not what leadership is. Leadership is how many people you're giving, how many millionaires you're making. You're not the only millionaire. How many other people got 6 zeros behind their name? How many young men you pulling off the street? How many women you saved from being teen pregnant mothers? How many people are you feeding? That's leadership. We got this thing backwards. That's why the church doors are closed. And I said it. I said what I said.
But that's true. He got us on a big old timeout right now. God is like, time out for the foolishness. Yeah, and like you said, will the real leaders stand up? Will the real leaders please stand up? And I just want, we're wrapping up. Let's talk about the election and how people can vote for you in the district or in the state that you're in. Let's talk about that. Okay,
so the election, and I want to say this because I love leadership. So I'm not trying to rebuke you, but I am trying to let you know this ain't the day to play games. And I'm telling you, the church has been on a judgment block since 2007. Okay? The church has been being judged. See, the church gets judged before the world.
That's
right. So now the world is looking at what's going on, but the church has been on the block. And I'm just saying this to leaders. I'm trying to tell you, especially clergy, this ain't the time. I wouldn't play games if I was you. I'm telling you, I looked at the news, and last week we buried like 20 bishops. We buried priests. I woke up this morning, one of my sisters from Barbados, who I know this woman of God is saved and love Jesus. She not here today. So if you don't hear nothing I say, I'm trying to tell clergy, don't wait until the lights are out. Don't wait until the church is closed permanently before you live right. Holiness is still right. And I'm not, no Pentecostal preacher, but I'm just trying to tell you that this is not just a pandemic. This is a warning. This is to let you know that time for playing church is over. Time for robbing and pimping people is over. Time for tradition and squeezing God out of your agenda is over. God is coming back for a people without spot or without wrinkle, and he's looking for leaders to lead. He says, I'm looking for virgins. I'm looking for brides. They're going to have their candles ready. So I'm just trying to tell clergy, light your candles and be ready because he's coming back. Now, how you can vote for me? Because I'm going to be leading whether I'm in a building, whether I'm on the streets, whether I'm at the morgue. It don't matter, honey. I'm going to lay hands on the dead and they shall recover. I'm going to be doing what God has called me to do. You can vote for me. It's Sabrina at McKenzie. Well, SabrinaMcKenzie.org. You can go to my website and learn more about what I'm doing. You can also early vote. Your ballots are in the mail. If you live in DeKalb or Gwinnett, I would love to be your senator. My areas are Tucker, Stone Mountain, Memorial, Covington, Lithonia, Smoke Rise, Norcross, Lilburn. There are several areas. So if you just remember DeKalb and Gwinnett County, I would love to be your senator. Again, I'm accessible. I'm available. I'm real people because I'm dealing with real issues. And that's how you can support me. That's how you can vote for me. Like Chantel said, in 2018, I lost by 111 votes to a 30-year incumbent who is used to being there, but I believe that the people are wanting something different. The people are asking for something different. So we want to make sure that we get those 111 votes in. Make sure that you vote. We don't have the luxury to stay home because we need resources. We need supermarkets in our area. We need education that is accessible and equitable. We need resources. We need better health and affordable health care. We need help. And every time somebody is locked out and disenfranchised, it's usually those people that are marginalized look like me and they look like you. So I'm talking to African American people. I need y'all to go vote. I need y'all to go to the poll. This ain't the time. Listen, let me tell you, sometimes a quarantine could be a ploy for you to sit home. If you got to put on gloves, a stocking cap, a ski mask, and a snowsuit, you need to make your way to the poll because this is not the day for us to miss the vote, okay? I want you to practice social distancing. I want you to make sure that you're healthy, but at the same time, I want you to exercise your responsibility as a leader. You don't have to have a title to be a leader, but when you're going to that poll, you are leading and you are employing me to do a job to fight for you at the Georgia State Dome.
So listen, if you are in any of those areas in Georgia, District 41, first of all, you can go to SabrinaMcKenzie.org to hear more about this wonderful woman of God who will be in the Senate House, fighting for not just everybody else, but everybody like us too, as Christians too. I'm so excited as the body of Christ.
I want to say that.
Yes.
Can I mention something? I definitely just want to piggyback off what you said. I wrote the prayer in school legislation where I co-authored it, and I co-authored it in 2015, and I gave it to one of my representatives here in Georgia. Also, I co-authored the Equal Rights Amendment Bill, which gives women equal pay for equal work. So right now, as it stands, women are making 77 cents to every dollar of a man. We want to make sure that women also have equity, that women also get paid equally. If we have to have the same experience, same job set, same education, same skill, then we need to get paid the same way. So pay us what you owe us. And one of the ways you could do that is by employing me to be your state senator, and then I can fight for that bill. I can bring that bill to the state senate. Lastly, as women, you know, most of us are the head of households. 80% of women right now are leading head of households. So it's not fair for us to get 50% of the income when we got to take care of 2, 3, 4, 5 kids.
Hello.
We want our whole check so you can pay us what you owe us, right? The other thing, I'm fighting for health care. I think COVID-19 is teaching us the most that we all need affordable health care. There are people that are not even diagnosed, that are walking around with coronavirus, but they haven't been diagnosed because they don't have health care. Okay? Because they're afraid to go to the hospital because they feel like they're going to be turned around because they don't have health care. So it's really important for all of us to have affordable health care. And then domestic violence, particularly in Atlanta and in urban areas, it's the highest in our communities. African-American women, Latino women, Asian women, marginalized women, we're dying at higher levels than any other ethnic group, okay? So we need advocates, we need senators, we need representatives, we need politicians, we need public servants who understand the issues in our community that are willing to fight for us in terms of legislation so that we can pass laws to help the betterment of humanity as a whole. So I'm asking you, I am beseeching you, I'm not just a ordained clergy, but I'm also a public servant. I understand the law, I understand how to write legislation, and I'm not no punk. I understand how to fight. So and listen, this is one of the things that I learned, because I've been on a battlefield with a bullhorn demonstrating for a long time. But demonstration without legislation is just conversation. I'm going to say it again. Demonstration without legislation is conversation. I can demonstrate in front of their office with a bullhorn, but until I get into that Capitol and write a bill that changes the law, it's not going to mean a hill of beans. I need you to employ me to work for you at the Capitol so we can change the law.
Awesome. Listen, you heard it right here. Probably not first, but first on In the Know. Sabrina McKenzie running for senator in the state of Georgia, District 41. Go vote. June 9th is the vote. They also have early voting where you can vote. You said, would it be online or is it through the mail? If they early vote?
Actually, the Secretary of State mailed out the ballots already. You should have received your ballot. Fill out the application. The deadline is April 20th. So you want to fill out the application. If you have not received it, then call the Secretary of State's office and let them know that you need a ballot, because you don't want to go to the poll, but you want to get your vote in early. Let's show them the power of the vote. Let's win the election before the voting polls open on June 9th. We can do that. If we get everybody to vote, we can win the election before the election day comes.
Now, when you say Secretary of State, you mean they're in Georgia, right? In Georgia.
I mean in Georgia, but guess what? If you're in Detroit, if you're in New York, if you are in D.C., I'm certain that you also received the early ballot, because many of the governors are doing the same thing. A lot of them are emulating each other. So you want to check with your Secretary of State to see if the ballots have been mailed out. Now, I don't know if the date that you vote in your state, because listen, you may not be able to vote for me in your state, but I still want you to vote for the best person in your state. So call the Secretary of State's office and find out what day the election is in your particular state. If you live in Georgia and you're under the sound of my voice, I want you to vote for Sabrina McKenzie. Remember, Sabrina McKenzie for state senate. Sabrina McKenzie for state senate. Your sister, your friend, your front line, your senator. Vote for Sabrina McKenzie for state senate for District 41, DeKalb and Gwinnett County.
Wow. Listen, y'all know somebody, even if you don't live in Georgia, but you have family, we have family, everybody has family up north, down south. If you have family that you need to get them, show them this video, share it with them, tag them in it even now. If you have family that lives in anywhere around Georgia or in Atlanta, Georgia, DeKalb County, Decatur, please tag them in this video. Tag them in this video. Tag them in this video like now. Let them know. Tune in. Vote. 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 June 9th.
Vote, 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 vote. Listen, don't let them scare you out of your vote. There are people that died for us to have the right to vote. There are people that they crossed the bloody lines. There are people that got their heads bashed in. That's why our seniors always vote, because they remember the sacrifice that was paid for us to have the right to vote. So listen, don't let Corona stop you from voting. You can vote at home. You can call the Secretary of State's office and vote. And then you can participate in early voting when there's not a lot of people there. So before the date or whatever your election date is, particularly in my state, June 9th, before June 9th, I'm sure you're going to have 2 weeks of early voting. So whatever you do, just exercise your right to vote, because I'm telling you, a lot of times there are different ploys that we have that try to suppress the vote. Voter suppression to try to prevent people from voting. But I'm telling you, marginalized community, Black people, church people. I'm going to say this in closing. When I started working with the House of Representatives as a legislative aide, I asked one of the mentors that I used to work with, I said, why don't you write legislation for church people? Why don't you do more for the kingdom? Why are you not writing bills that reflect our needs? And he said, because they don't show up. Wow. I'm telling you, let's make the devil a liar. We're going to show up at the poll. We're going to show up for education. We're going to show up for equal rights for women. We're going to show up for health care. We're going to show up and show out and show them that not only is God not dead, but that we deserve equal representation and we deserve equity in the law and under the law. Martin Luther King's last fight was not about civil rights, but it was about silver rights. It wasn't civil, it was silver. What does that mean? It was about the dollar. And if we're going to get dollars in our community and resources in our community, it's going to be because we have people fighting for us that have our interests on their mind. So now let's fight for silver rights. That's what Dr. King gave his life for. Silver rights. We need equity, people. Equity in the law and equity under the law. Let's do it, church.
Let's go. Vote.
None of the prophets in the Bibles were punished. Yes. And I'm talking to the church. I know that when my politician friends see this, they're going to be like, what are they talking about? But I'm talking to my people right now. This is a house call. None of the prophets. I know that the new gospel that y'all reading, everything is good. Everything is about elevation and everything is pretty. But until you're ready to die, you cannot resurrect. Until the Bible says, until a grain of wheat falls to the ground and die, it stands alone. But when it dies, it bears forth much fruit. It's fruit time. It's harvest time. There's souls out there that are waiting for you to resurrect. There's people out there that are waiting for you to come out of the cave. They're waiting for you to come out of quarantine. They're waiting for that book that's inside you. They're waiting for the word that God put on your heart. God slows some of y'all down so you can go ahead and finish your book. God slows some of y'all down so you can go ahead and write that sermon. God is allowing you to get the vision out. So don't allow this time to be in vain. Resurrect. You went through the public persecution, but now it's time to rise.
Wow. Listen, you all heard it right here on In the Know, unveiling the greatness in you. This great woman of God, this great senator coming forth, she is ready to make things happen in the community for not just her and but for the community, for the church, for women, for children, for the downtrodden, for the rich, for the poor. So that's what great leadership does. That's what great leadership exemplifies, is not just leading when it's convenient, not just leading when they feel like they're getting something, or you shake my hand and I'll shake yours, you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours. No, leading if you don't ever receive a check, leading if you don't ever receive accolades, leading if you don't ever get what you feel like you deserve as a leader. But like she said, like Sabrina McKenzie said, that leadership starts in inside of servanthood. Let's recapping a little bit. Leadership starts inside of servanthood, and when you're a servant leader, that's what makes it really inevitable that you are a true leader. Leadership even involves sacrificing yourself, as Jesus did. He sacrificed his son, as God did. He sacrificed his son and gave his only begotten son, so we all may live a quiet and peaceful life. And you might say, well, life is not quiet and peaceful right now because we're going through this pandemic. But how are you going through it, sir, leader? How are you going through it, madam leader? How are you going through this? Are you going through in panic? Are you going through with patience? Are you going through with praise? Are you going through in peace? Or are you going through in faith? Are you going through in fear? Leaders are revealed in a crisis, and that's what we talked about today. So listen, vote for Sabrina McKenzie. She is running for state senator in Georgia, District 41. If you live in Georgia, you know exactly what we're talking about. Vote June 9th, 2020. That's for her, for that particular Senate seat. Now, listen, we also have the presidential election coming up, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but be prepared to vote. Don't exercise your right to vote. What I love about what she said, it wasn't just about vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. She talked about voting, period, in as a people, voting, period, as in the election, and not letting what's going on with the pandemic stop you from voting. She even mentioned if you have to go in all suited up in a whatever hazmat suit, whatever you can do to get out to vote. So pay attention to your local government, so you can know exactly what's going on in your local government. But if you live in Atlanta, Georgia, you vote for in Georgia, District 41, you vote for Sabrina McKenzie. She is on the ballot, senator, and I said the Senate House they ready. They better, if they not ready, they better get ready for that fireball that's about to come in and shake up some things for the body of Christ, and also for kingdom. Thank you, Father, for kingdom. So once again, this is Chantel Jackson. Listen, tonight is in the know. We come on. Okay, she's back. I was wondering where she went. I'm bringing her back on. Okay, I was wondering what happened. Can you hear me?
My phone went out, honey. So I had to go ahead.
Yeah, I said that. I was hoping you came back on. I was like, I don't want her to like end it like that. So this for I was kind of closing out, but this for the last few more minutes is talk about the importance of staying in leadership, being in leadership, and how it even affects people who you are training, because leaders beget leaders. I believe leaders train leaders of leaders. They don't train followers, but they train leaders. So talk a little bit about that. We're going to end on tonight.
So I want to make sure I heard you correctly. You said speak to leaders in training.
Yes, people, okay, like yourself being a leader, I'm sure there are other people that look at who are inspired by you to lead, because they see, I know I always often tell you this, when you come to Detroit, honey, it's infectious. Like when you hang out with Pastor Sabrina, and you ain't gonna, I'm telling you, it is infectious. Like it's an impartation that happens that you literally, she don't take no for an answer. And that's what I believe leaders should be in that state. Well, look, it gotta be a way. Where there is a will, there's a way. And you exemplify that. So I always tease you. I'm like, when you come to Detroit and we hang out, I don't pay for nothing. Stuff get discounted. We get stuff for free. I mean, not because it's because it's a spirit of I'm God's daughter. I'm a leader. It's not that she's getting robbing nobody or anything. It's just that the attitude behind your leadership is so powerful, and people need to understand that to be a leader, you can't be no punk. You said it earlier.
Yeah, you know what I want to say to leaders in training, and the word that's coming to my spirit is to not despise small beginnings. Mm-hmm. I'm reminded of David. David was anointed by Samuel at least 12 years before he became king. I'm going to
Wow.
say that again. David was anointed by Samuel at least 12 years before he became king. Now, the interesting thing about David, and see, because I think people look at leaders that are already developed and they desire, why is my social media ministry not growing? Why is my church? Why don't I have, 10,000 people? Why don't I have, the suits? Why don't I have the people? Why don't I have the gigs? Why don't I have it's always looking at somebody in comparison. But
Girl,
what
you
you don't
better
know is
say
you
that.
don't know how many years they served before they became king. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know how many years they served before the people started serving them. You don't know what that situation looks like in the background. So I want to speak to you where you are. I want to tell you to be faithful while you are in the background, because the Bible says when you're faithful over little, I'll make you rulers over much. That is the key to leadership: being faithful, being disciplined, being consistent when nobody is watching you. When your pastor comes in the room, everybody's like, yes, sir. Everybody want to be ready. Everybody want to pray. But what do? Do you go to church when your pastor's not there? Do y'all got to call the church and say, is pastor there? Oh, he not there? I'm not coming. Because real leaders going to show up. Real leaders are going to do what's necessary. Real leaders are going to go to prayer when nobody knows that they're there. Real leaders are going to pray when nobody's watching. Real leaders are going to serve when nobody knows their name. Real leaders are going to lead whether they are being seen or not. You got to prophesy to 2 chairs before you can prophesy to 20,000 seats. You got to be faithful over those little things. So that's why David was so successful. Now, I'm going to tell you where boldness comes from. Faith and boldness doesn't come because somebody gave you a title. Faith and boldness doesn't come because somebody made you a leader. Faith and boldness comes because when you were tested and God proves himself to be faithful, you begin to trust him more and more. So when it was time for David to kill Goliath, he looked at them and he said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that dares defile the armies of my God? Why am I saying that? Because I killed a bear. Why am I saying that? Because I killed a lion. Why am I saying that? Because when I was in the trenches, when I was in the field, I learned how to deal with those things that were small. So the same God, my God, that helped me kill those things is going to take the head off of the giant. I want to talk to leaders in training. Take the head off of whatever is in front of you, so that when God calls you to lead at great heights, you're going to look at that uncircumcised thing and say, listen, I don't care how many of you are against me. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. I'm going to take the head off. I'm going to take your head off and I'm going to hand it to you on a platter so that you know my God is God. Be faithful over little. Don't despise where God has you. If you work in social media, get up every day at 5 and do it. Get up every day at 6. Get on if you got 2 people. Get on if you got 3,000 people. Be consistent and be faithful. Every great person, every successful person, they had to have a plan. They had to have something that they did in repetition, and they had to be diligent, and they had to take no for an answer. Even if you look at the secular people that are successful, they're disciplined, they're faithful, and they're consistent. So be consistent over those small things. I watched Kobe Bryant, and they said Kobe Bryant was not really a big star, but Kobe got up. Everything that he could not conquer, he would spend when people were going and eating Big Macs. He would spend his summer training so that he could get into the next season and do what he couldn't do the first season. So the first season, he couldn't make the jump shots, but the next season, he couldn't miss the jump shots. How many of you are ready to make the jump shot for Jesus?
Wow. You just
You gotta
encouraged
first
me.
miss the jump shots and then begin to do the practice. Practice. Study to show yourself approved. Study when everybody is going to spend their stimulus check. Study when everybody is going to get their hair done. Study when everybody is going to network. Show yourself approved. Pray when everybody is watching the Super Bowl. Pray when everybody is going to the football game. Come on, you got to do what other people are not willing to do so you can have what other people are not willing to have. I'm talking to leaders on today. I'm not talking to those people that want to put on a suit and look cute. I'm talking to people that really want to lead.
Wow. You just encourage me because I often, and this is a little transparency, I often, even doing this show, I'm just like, it's like, I got to be consistent. I hear God always say, be consistent, be faithful and over the little, and I'll make you do it over much. Not that I want this great following, but I feel like God gave this to me and I want it to be in excellence. And sometimes I do get discouraged because of, what you just said, and I got to be consistent. So you just encouraged me. Thank you for coming back on. See, God know what He's doing. He get me together right on live.
Listen, all of those people that have 20,000 people, at one time they had 2. No great leader starts as the great leader. They started as David. David didn't start as king. He started as a shepherd boy. He didn't start as the shepherd. He started as the boy. And so you have to realize that the only way the difference between those that make it and those that don't is the ones that quit. I'm going to say it again. The difference between those that become king and those that stay the boy is the ones that keep going. You got to keep going. And you have to just be consistent and faithful when it's small. It's going to be small, but you cannot be trusted until you're tested. Listen, I looked up the word trust. And when I looked up the word trust, it took me to trustee. And the trustee is somebody that governs the land of ownership on behalf of somebody else. That means that somebody else had to trust the person that's close to them, that they would be a good person to give out the money, to be a beneficiary to the people that are in their circle. God is calling you to be a trustee and have dominion over the earth. But in order for him to give you keys to make you a trustee, he got to make sure he can trust you. God never releases keys to people he don't trust. Can he trust you? How does he know he can trust you as a trustee? Is when you're faithful over the small beginning.
Well, listen, y'all heard it right here. Leadership at its best. Pastor Sabrina McKenzie, thank you so much for taking out your time on this Friday night to spend with us to talk about leadership. A world in a crisis. Real leaders are not created, but they are revealed. And tonight you said it so eloquently, and you got us. I hope she got us together. She got me together. I'm together. I'm on. If at first you don't succeed.
In closing, I want to say this because a lot of times when leadership is revealed in crisis, I want you to know I'm not just talking about the pandemic. I'm talking to the people. I want you to know that crisis can look like cancer.
Yes.
Crisis can look like AIDS.
Yes.
Crisis can look like divorce. My God. Crisis can look like church separation.
That's right.
Being excommunicated from a church. Crisis can look like being fired from your job. All of those things are interruptions, but God does his best work in interruptions. When interruptions happen, they refine the vision. When interruptions happen, they clarify your calling. When interruptions come, they fine-tune what your purpose is. So although Dr. King thought he was just going to be a preacher, God says, I'm going to make you a drum major. Although Paul was persecuting Christians and he thought he was just going to be the one that persecutes Christians, when he was thrown off the horse and he was turned blind, God says, I'm going to give you a new vision in this interruption because I'm going to cause you to be one of the greatest pioneers for the gospel. God takes those interruptions and he makes leaders. Don't look at your sickness unto death. God is just refining your vision and your purpose. Your sickness is not unto death. Your excommunication from that bishop, from that apostle, from that church is just to get your lazy butt into opening up your own church or doing what God has called you to do. Don't look at your crisis as a denial. Your crisis is an acceptance into the beloved arms of Jesus. For the stone that the builders rejected shall become the chief and the cornerstone.
Well.
The stone that the builders rejected. You can't become the cornerstone until you meet crisis. Wow. Until you're rejected.
That's deep. That's deep right there. We're gonna end right there. Listen, you've heard it right here on In the Know. Unveiling the Greatness in You. Once again, Pastor Sabrina McKenzie out of Atlanta, Georgia, talking to us about leadership and what it really means to be a leader, not just in crisis with this pandemic, but crisis, whatever may happen in your life that seems like you may not be able to bounce back from. But I heard somebody say that setback was your setup for a greater comeback. But how you come back is important, and that's what shows you as a leader.
Thomas Edison, I think it was it 11,000 times? They said he failed so many times that when he finally created the light bulb, they brought the press and the media there. And they said, you failed like 10,099 times. Aren't you afraid? Like, why don't we talk about the failure? They said, what do you think about that? Thomas Edison turned to them and said, I now know 10,099,000 ways it won't work. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter how many times you get set back. It doesn't matter how people perceive you. I want to tell you, I know I'm talking to greatness. I know that you are great. I know you are the beloved of God. I know that you are called. And oftentimes when you don't have 20,000 people in your church, they may not be calling you to go into their ministry. But let me tell you, they had to start with 2 people. You be faithful over the 2 people you got. You be faithful over the assignment. And the God that we serve, he know how to take you from the back to the front. He know how to take you from being overlooked to overbooked. He know how to take you from being downtrodden to risen up. He know how to take you from the grave to resurrection. He knows how to promote you, and promotion does not come from man. It comes from God. Promotion does not come from the east or the west. It comes from God. So I want you to keep your face looking to the north, because God is about to elevate you. God is about to bless you. God is seeing your faithfulness. He's seeing your tears. He's seeing your travail. And the God that we serve knows you by name. The God that we serve, he's numbered your hair. He's counted your tears. And you are on your way to an elevation. All you got to do is stand still and see his salvation. He's going to promote you in the midst of your enemies. Your enemies think you were counted out. Your enemies think that he is through with you. But I want to tell you, it's as soon as they think that God is through with you, that's exactly when he promotes you. When he prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies, he says, then your cup shall run over. Listen, if you're listening to me right now, get ready for an elevation when you come out of this persecution.
Yes, let me see them hearts. Let me see the lights. This is a fire lit conversation on tonight. I'm just so excited. I'm pumped. I'm ready. I believe this is a time for us to be in this time of what we call timeout, or some people quarantine. Getting to really the face of God and get creative in the things that He's told us to do, and getting His face to get ideas. Also, on what the next move is, whatever you're doing, make it greater. Studying to show thyself approved. I mean, you said so much tonight. If you have enjoyed tonight, our guest, Pastor Sabrina McKenzie, please, yes, thank you. Pump the hearts. Come on, show me some fire emojis, the little fire emojis saying that it's lit. And we thank you again for joining us on tonight, Pastor Sabrina. This has been a tremendous time. If people want to donate to your campaign, how can they do that?
They can cash at me at Pastor Sabrina MC. You can cash at me, and we need donations because we got some haters in Atlanta that have been pulling up my signs. So I definitely could use the cash app so we could get some new yard signs. But it's $ Pastor Sabrina MC. I want to say this in closing, Chantel, that I talked a lot about you can't be trusted until you're tested. And the Holy Spirit just dropped in my memory bank about Abraham. And when God told Abraham, as far as your eyes can see, I'm going to give you many nations, and I'm going to call you the father of many nations. I'm going to make you be the father of many nations. So if you can count all of the sands, if you can count all of them, that's how far your greatness will go. That's how much I'm going to exceed and elevate you. But it's so interesting that when God gave Abraham Isaac, the very promise that he had been waiting for, the very thing that God is using to make him the father of many nations, it was that thing that God asked him to sacrifice.
Wow. Listen.
The very thing.
The very thing.
Listen, God is allowing this shutdown. This shutdown is a sacrifice for us. But it's not a voluntary sacrifice. I'm saying that because I'm sensing that some of you that are watching, there is a sacrifice that God is requiring of you. And you can't see the manifestation of the promise until you're willing to sacrifice that thing that you think is going to get you there. In other words, the vehicle that you think is going to travel you to your level of elevation and your level of promotion, it's the very thing that God wants to strip. Oh my God. Because you fell in love with the ministry. You fell in love with the works. You fell in love with the activity of it. But he wants to know, can I trust you? Can I give you this thing? Will you give it back to me? And listen to the faith that Abraham had. He said, you know what? I'm going to take this promise. And he said, me and the boy are going to worship, but we'll be right back. I want in the place of your sacrifice, I don't want you to look at it like I'm going to lose everything. See, some of us got so caught up in the agenda of church that if God tried to come into our agenda, we wouldn't even let him in. So now it's closed so that we can offer up another level of sacrifice. We can do something different. We can find creative ways to reach people. So he's saying, would you be willing to give back the thing I gave you? And Abraham said, I'm going to count it as worship. Count your sacrifice. Leaders, I'm talking to leaders. I'm not talking to just anybody now. I want you to count the thing that you love that God is asking you to give. Count that as worship. Hey, God Almighty. Count the thing that God is asking you to put up on the auction block. Count it as worship. And when Abraham went, you know the story, to go ahead and slay Isaac, the angel said, stay your hand. And he looked over and he found a ram in the bush. Where your sacrifice is, so is your provision.
Come on. Your
sacrifice ends, so begins your provision.
Woo! That part.
That is the first time in the Bible that we find Jehovah Jireh, the one that provides. Where you sacrifice for God, whatever it is that you're giving up, that you've been holding on to, that's going to be the beginning of your promotion and your elevation. That's when you're going to see the manifestation of the promise. And I'm done. Because I'm talking to leaders. I'm talking to leaders that have been in the cave, that have been waiting and even waiting on man, even waiting on a confirmation, even waiting on an elevation. But it's in the place of your sacrifice. And when you lay that thing down as worship,
lay it
he's
down
going to give you provision. That means what you couldn't do in the natural realm, what you don't have the money for, what you don't have the resources for, it's going to be a supernatural, exponential, divine provision for you. And I'm done. I love you, leaders. Trust me, you got a sister that's rocking with you. I'm not one of them other people that, I'm not, no shade. Chantel said no shade. I'm not nobody else, but I'm just telling you, I know what it's like to be rejected. And he says, I'm going to make you the stone, the cornerstone. I'm talking to cornerstones on tonight.
I receive that.
You
The
got
chief
a sister
cornerstone.
in Christ
The
that's
chief.
rocking with you, that
Mhm.
loves you, and that's
Yeah.
praying for you. God bless you. Chantel,
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. You have always, I think, oh wow, man, it's going on like plus 10 plus years that we've known each other, and you've never changed. You've always been the same. And it's amazing, inside and out. And I thank God for you. Thank you so much again. Listen, if you all have enjoyed on tonight, let's see some love, let's see some hearts, let's see some likes. Also, if you would like to donate to Pastor Sabrina's campaign, she's running for state senate. You can donate. There it is at the on the screen. $ Pastor Sabrina MC. M as in Mary, C as in car.
That's Cash App. That's the
Cash App. That's her Cash App. So donate to the. I just sent a donation. God laid on my heart to donate on tonight. And if you want to donate, I heard the number 8, and I know this is like this. I'm only being led by God. I heard the number 8. So donate, even if it's not every little bit of help, every a lot of help. Donate $8, $88, $18. Donate to her campaign, because we want to make sure that everything that she needs. She did not ask me to do this. I am being totally led by God, and I have to be obedient. She needs any what's it called, a campaign. Anybody running, they need funds, and we are the people, and us as me as her sister, you as her sisters and brothers on here as well, and help her by donating to her campaign. This will go toward feeding the homeless. She's been out feeding the homeless. I'm sure that takes money. That's not free. She's out clothing and doing things in the community. Her campaign needs help with those types of in the trenches. She already get cute without your money. So she needs this money. The campaign actually needs it for her to be able to succeed in her winning the Senate, as far as going out to do the things she needs to do in the community. So I said it. Yes, $8.88.
Thank you.
Okay, for another leader, and that's it. I appreciate you, Pastor Sabrina. Thank you again. I love you. We're going to end this show on tonight. I appreciate everybody that has joined us once. Cannot so financial at this time. I was so impressed. Thank you. MC, prayers are definitely needed. Please, if you can't sow in monetarily, and this is a donation, if you can't donate, please pray. Don't donate your prayers, but definitely sow your prayer. Sow your prayer in this season, because we definitely can't wait. I can't wait. June 9th, that's 3 days before my birthday. Okay, we ain't gonna talk about that. Anyway, I am so excited for you, and I am with you. And I know some people in Georgia, and I'm gonna get on the phone and the horn and begin to tell them to vote, because it's the right thing to do. Hello. Once again, this is Chantel Jackson, Pastor Sabrina McKenzie. We're going to go ahead and get in this show on tonight. Thanks again for coming on. You guys, we're here next Friday night as well. We're going to actually be on again at 8 o'clock. So make sure you tune in next Friday as well at 8 o'clock. I don't know who the guest. I think I'm going to have my son on, and one of his friends. They're doing some great things in the financial arena. He's only 17 years old, and God is giving him favor in the financial realm. Oh my gosh, y'all got to come back and hear this. He's been talking on the phone and stand up, and I'm just, I'm listening. I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. This young man, my son, Andrew Maple, we're going to come back next week. We're going to talk about what he's doing to empower others, even grown folks. He's 17.
Wow, that's powerful.
He's been empowering grown folk all across this nation So he could be doing you talked about the young men that were at the funeral today of the young brother that you had to eulogize on today, and how important it is for us to grab our young, especially Black boys, and begin to nourish them and cultivate them and tell them they can be whatever they want to be.
Yes.
And they don't have to sell drugs. They don't have to do scamming. I think they call it scamming,
Exactly.
doing the crooked stuff. But God, I'm proud of him. And it's so funny. He said, Mom, you got to have us on the show. And I'm like, that's funny, because I actually was going to ask you all to be on the show. But he has hit he's making his own money. He's doing his own finance thing. Literally, I'm amazed. And I know it's nothing but the grace of God. As his mother, I'm so proud of him. All of my children, I'm proud of them. They're doing their own. They have all skills and talent. They're becoming leaders. This is amazing. And so he is definitely is grooming and growing into a leader. And I'm so proud of him. And him and his business partner, their business partner. That sounds so fun. He's 17. He's just winning. He's on his way to 12th grade. And we're going to have them on next week talking about young boys, and not incorporated, young boys, young men in business, doing what they do in the financial arena.
Wow.
Mix next week is going to be a powerful meeting of the minds. And so get your young people,
awesome.
Let them know they can do it, okay? So that's next week. We're going to put the flyer out. We'll have them up. So next week, we're going to have them come on and we're going to rock it out. So every week we're here. I love you guys. Have a great night. We're going to end on this note. Love you.